Let's talk about the Gateway program, the Gateway tapes, and the Monroe Institute. Now, real quick, if you're not into woo-woo things, if woo-woo things bother you, scroll. Just keep scrolling. This is not for you. All right. Now that that's out of the way, lately I have been really active on other people's posts about the specific subject, which is the Gateway tapes, the Gateway Voyage program, the Gateway program in general, and the Monroe Institute. So much so that other people's videos their chat is just getting so filled up with questions and back and forth and all that sort of thing. So I'm taking this as my cue to finally start talking about this. I've been fairly involved over the past year and a half or so, and we'll talk about that. But I have been hesitant to talk about this stuff because there's so much there, and I couldn't even begin to formulate how would I even start to talk about this, because it's wild. But I think I could do it. I've kind of got it set up in my head to where we can do kind of this overview video and then subsequent videos around my experience and what I've learned and all of those sorts of things. So if the Gateway tapes, the Gateway Voyage program, the Gateway program, Monroe Institute is interesting to you, stick around. So, what is the Gateway tapes? What are the Gateway tapes? What is the Gateway program? And what is the Monroe Institute? Let's start that towards the end with what is the Monroe Institute. The Institute is a nonprofit organization based in Virginia that explores higher states of consciousness. And it was founded by the late, great, amazing Robert Monroe. Now, Robert, real quickly, brief background on his story, because I think it's important. Robert was a radio station executive back in the 1950s who was having what you would call out-of-body experiences, to where he would have these crazy wild experiences, but one of them would be he'd wake up on the ceiling of his bedroom, looking down at his body, and floating around. And of course, this freaked him out, and it was happening repeatedly, so he wanted to know what's going on, what's happening. And so he sought medical advice and psychiatric advice and got fully checked out physiologically and psychologically. And he was fit as a fiddle. And his MD friend, in fact, told him, hey, this keeps happening to you and it's not causing any problems. So you should explore it more. You should find out what this is all about. And so he did. Through his own efforts and slowly pulling in help from other people, he was able to do a lot of exploration on his own. And then he published in, I think it was 1971, Journeys Out of the Body, which if you have not read that book, definitely check it out. It's such a good book. Highly, highly recommend it. But the result of publishing that book was basically like a signal flare to the world for all of the people who have had similar experiences, but there was no or very few resources to understand it. He was pulling in people from all over the world, and here's the one thing that really attracted me to the Institute and the Gateway program is that it was very important for him. He very much insisted on the idea that this topic of consciousness was approached from a scientific point of view, bereft of any kind of dogmatic, mystic, or religious connotations whatsoever, so that he could really have an objective scientific viewpoint. He was a very scientific-minded guy, and he was able to attract other scientific-minded people, PhDs, physicists, etc. If you haven't read My Big Toe, that's a great book. Go check it out. You can talk about all the protocols they set up. And so through all of this effort and approaching this through a scientific method, he was able to explore higher states of consciousness in a crazy way, just amazing way. And through this process, they developed what is called hemisync, which is hemisphere synchronization, which is where you'll play one frequency in one ear and another frequency in the other ear. And this synchronizes both hemispheres of the brain, which allows people to not only get into a deeper state of consciousness through meditation, but also keep their right brain alert enough, awake enough to not only know what's going on, but also direct what's going on, and of course remember it afterwards. So hemisync just made a huge difference in being able to bring people who have never meditated in their lives right up to speed to where gurus, in the Eastern world have spent decades meditating and trying to figure it out. So amazing thing. And through this work, they caught the attention of the CIA, and the CIA then used the HemiSync and the Gateway program to great effect for a lot of years. Other 3-letter agencies as well. And this is kind of indirectly how I found out about it, because I'm here on this app with all these creators, and a lot of people were talking about the declassified documents on CIA.gov that talked about the Gateway process. And so I, of course, went to CIA.gov, looked at the documents myself, and of course started consuming more information, went to the Monroe Institute's website, went to their YouTube page, and actually, for the first time really ever, I started meditating. Now, I had meditated teaching martial arts for years and years and years, but it was never longer than 10 minutes, but I'd never gone this deep before. And so I started using very basic entry level meditations, Focus 10, if you're familiar, just there for months. And I got a lot out of it. But it got so much to the point that I'm like, I'm really interested in this. I really want to learn more. I want to actually, what if I went to one of their classes, either virtually or physically, at the Monroe Institute, and actually went there and learned from them? And I was kind of on the fence about this for like several months, or probably 2-3 months. And that's when I saw Jordan's video. He goes by Alive and Kicking, amazing content creator. Go check him out. And he did this whole beautiful video overview of the Monroe Institute and the Gateway Voyage program, which is the program I wanted to attend. And it covered like all the ins and outs and things that I had questions about. And I was like, bet, that's it. Let's go. I'm going to that program. So I signed up for a class in September, and I went, and it was amazing. Probably the most amazing week of my entire life. And that's saying something. Like wild things that we did. Just to touch the tip of the iceberg, we learned about, of course, out of body. We, of course, deep meditation, learned about deep meditation, how to get there and the various states of consciousness. But we learned about patterning, which is manifestation. We learned about remote viewing, which I've done. It's freaky as hell. It actually works. It's crazy accurate, wild stuff. Speaking with higher dimensional beings, speaking with past loved ones, which I've done. It's insane. I will have total stories about that. And the week was amazing. And one of the greatest gifts out of all of us, I made several, like there was 18 of us in the class, and I made lifelong friends. I love these human beings because you just get to know them so well. And you're very vulnerable in terms of like, here's what I'm experiencing and this is what I'm seeing, and really just connecting with each other that way. So I absolutely love my Gateway class mates. So anyway, did this program, phenomenal, amazing. I continue to do the meditations. I'm actually pursuing a certification as an outreach trainer for the program. Eventually I will get there. But until then, I think I would like to put this video series together that walks you through kind of some of the things I experienced with just basic Focus 10 stuff on my own at home. And then I'll walk you through hopefully a video or more per day. I've got a whole notebook of just crazy notes from that, which could probably be 30, 40 videos or whatever, just for the Gateway Voyage program itself. And then the subsequent meditations that I've done, just the crazy things that have happened. So hopefully, my idea is there's people out there who want to explore the Gateway program, who want to explore meditation, higher states of consciousness, like the idea that this is coming from a scientific perspective rather than a dogmatic one. So hopefully this will reach people like that, and we'll connect. We'll create a community here, and we'll go from there. So yeah. And if this is not for you, I love you still. Just scroll when you see the next several videos. Anyway, I love you. We'll talk soon.